Welcome back to Star Technology. In this episode, we automate gravel production, build a coke oven, and enter the steam age. Let's get into it. So, since the last episode, I've been busily gathering resources. I've also done a little bit of a redesign of this area. The main thing is I moved a lot of the furnaces and storage that I put over here for some reason. There's also this beginnings of this structure here, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to track the progress that we make each episode. The idea being that this is going to be quite a long playthrough, so this tower will grow and grow towards the sky, and it will be here in the sort of the central part of this level where we started with the single tree, just as a reminder of where we've gotten to. So the idea is that the structure of the level or the layer at the time is sort of representative of what we're up to, and as you grow up, we'll go through different materials. Here we are, we're starting with oak, so that's in reference to the fact that we built a tree farm, and last episode we built a cobblestone generator, and that was using andesite casings. So stay tuned for what episode 3 entails. Here's the cobblestone generator we created last episode, so this has been churning away, creating plenty of cobblestone. So over here we have the 4 main block types that we're dealing with in terms of resource gathering. So our cobblestone generator creates the cobblestone. We use our granite hammer, smash it into gravel. We then use our granite hammer, smash the gravel into sand. We then use our granite hammer, smash the sand into dust. And keeping some of them along the way, we run them through the sift here. And that's how we get our resources. Now, all of that is very manual still. This hammer does a lot of work. So we want to fix that. We want this whole process end to end to be automated so that we can focus on the building of technology, which is what this mod pack is all about. So we will get started on that. So as a quick recap of where we're at, if we look at our quest tree, we've made a good progress into ULV. So we've got some of the things like cobblestone generation, we've got some clay, got the water wheels happening, but these sections here are all still unknown to us. And in order to progress to the next tier, LV, we're going to need to get into that. In particular, this guy here, the primitive blast furnace, that is going to be essential. We're going to need lots of steel ingots for the next tier. So that takes a while to work towards. And there's a lot of things along the way that we need first. But before we can do any of that, there's a quality of life improvement that I want to make quickly. The create mod, the moving machinery, produces its energy in something called stress units. So we don't at this point know what's going on here. So let's fix that by creating some engineering goggles that will allow us to see what's going on in these machines. So, engineering goggles, what do they look like? So, string, copper plate, glass. Okay, that's pretty easy. All right, so they go in the head slot, and as you can see, look very stylish on the character. I actually think it's pretty cool that it shows a band going all the way around the side of the head as well. So what does this give us? When we have these on, now when we look at these machines, it tells us information about what's going on. So this particular mechanical press is consuming 512 stress units at its current speed. Because if we were to gear ratio it down and it was rotating slower, it would actually use less. So let's see what this actually tells us. So each of these water wheels is generating 512 stress units. So we built 7 of those. So currently we're using 2 of the entire water wheels of motion here. And we've got the aqueous accumulator with the pump here, so that's another half. So we've got 4.5 left. So we've got plenty of capacity at the moment, but during this episode we're going to be building a few more machines, so that will very quickly be consumed. Another cool thing, actually, is something called a speedometer. So that's made from a compass. Actually, I'll make a second one because there's a second gadget you can make that's related to that. Okay. Speedometer. And then stressometer. So these have a rotational input and a cool little gauge on the side. So if we plug these in, so let's just plug that there, which we've done upside down. Oh, no, that's cool. So you can see here, it's actually got that little needle actually goes up the gauge, which is kind of cool. But this is rotating at 64 RPM currently, which is considered moderate. And if we plonk that on there, we can now see the network stress and the remaining capacity. So we are, as we worked out before, we have quite a lot of capacity left over. So I don't really want to have them sitting around here, so maybe I'll move them somewhere else. But they're useful diagnostic tools for figuring out what's going on. All right, so up next, what we want to do is create something called a millstone. So this is a useful little device, quite easy to make. Cogwheel, andesite casing, and some cooked stone. This will allow us to do some of the grinding of cobblestone into gravel. So that will automate that process for it. It uses the rotational input we've got here in the crate mod. And what I want to do is set up a little cobblestone processing station, I guess, that will start this automation. So it won't be very fast, but it will allow us to sort of do some offline processing of gravel. Into gravel. So let's get started. Okay. First, I might just reset the day. Now we have a little bit of string. I've managed to craft a bed, so that's pretty easy. To grab some dirt. Just in case he comes to town. So cogwheel, andesite casing, stone. All right, so we've got some andesite casings from before. So let's make two, because I have a plan for creating a little processing station. So I don't seem to have any cogwheels, so we'll quickly craft up some of those. And then stone over here. So eventually I actually want to create what I call a storage wall. So what I'll do is use a whole bunch of these oak drawers, maybe in this area here, because this seems to be like a centralized area that's quite handy. So like a giant wall with a oak drawer for each resource, rather than have them all sort of stashed in here. Particularly the ingots and plates and stuff like that, because we're always accessing them. Okay, so millstone. This has an input at the top, output at the bottom. It has a cog, very similar to the pump that we created actually. So we'll start with a couple of chests for input and output. We'll need some more chutes. All right, so I think what we'll do is we'll place it here. That should work. Place some chutes on top of that. Let's get some scaffolding to help us. Now, if we drop the millstones on top of here, then a couple more chutes, and then finish with the chest on top. That, I think, will work. So now what we can do is we can put stuff, cobblestone on the top, and it will feed through into both and then come out into the bottom chest. So you need to give that some rotational input. So let's... Oops, wrong place. Let's do that. And then if everything goes well, this should fit just in... Oops. Just in here. All right, check that out. So, let's get this cranking. So we're gonna need lots of gravel, because obviously that's how we get our ores. So why don't we just grab a few stacks from these. So we should see gravel coming out the bottom. So as you can see, it's pretty slow, but at least this can be working in the background while we're doing other things. And what we might do is later on, once we have access to pipes, is actually pipe one of the outputs from here directly into that machine. So we don't have to do this manual step here. So I took a little break and came back to what we have here and hated with a passion everything that we created behind us there. So what I did was I took a little bit of time to just move a few of these things around. This section here, I moved these water wheels back probably about 3 or so blocks. So I ran out of diorite, just ignore that. Just to give us a bit more space to make this gear ratio changer kind of out of the way, and then I could move some of these machines back a little bit to give us more space, which meant I could move this gravel producer back and also fit the stress meter in there. So it's a little bit tidier. It's not perfect, but yeah, I hated everything I was looking at. So that's it's calmed me down a little bit. So that's good. So next up, what we want to do is improve our smelting process. So this wall of furnaces, it's the sort of the standard way of doing this, but we can do better in this mod at the moment. So what we're going to do is create something that allows us to do bulk blasting. It will allow us to cook a stack of items at a time rather than one at a time, which is a lot quicker. And also we can stop using fuel as a resource. We can actually just use the power of lava. And not the standard way of having a lava bucket, but just having a lava block. So I will demonstrate how that works. So first off, we're going to need a encased fan. So this is fairly simple: shaft, andesite casing, propeller. Propeller is just get that happening. Get the shaft, andesite casing. So we have this thing called an encased fan. So this is an interesting block. So you feed a rotational input into it, and it either, depending on the direction it's turning, it will either blow air out this way or suck it in. So we have to make sure we're doing it the right way because we want it to be blowing out that way. All right, so I've done a little bit of a redesign here. Replaced the floor here with something less flammable. Extended the shaft out a little bit. We'll tidy up that area a bit later. So what we want to do is just probably extend the shaft a little bit more, place the fan on it. So there we go, spinning away. One interesting thing about this block is it does actually move entities, including the player. So if you throw something in there, it will actually throw it, including myself. So one thing to be aware of if you're working with these close to the edge and at high rotation, you don't want to yeet yourself off the edge into the void. So just just something to be aware of. Okay, so we want to build a little enclosure to have our lava be in. So maybe I will actually build that there. A bit of that. So put our lava there, that'll be nice and safe. Now, we want somewhere for our items to sit when we're blasting them. So easiest option for that is a depot. Place that there. We should still be able to put objects onto that plate there. Test that out. Yep. And if we place lava in there, now we have superheated air going through there. So let's make some charcoal. So we're going to need lots of charcoal for steel production later. So let's make a few stacks of that. So first I'll demonstrate with just one block. So if you put an object on there, you'll see it starts to cook. Now after a period of time, that turns into charcoal. So the great thing is you can do an entire stack at once, a lot quicker than individually in a furnace. There we go. And that's our entire stack. The other thing that this bulk blasting can be used for is incinerating objects. So if you place something that you want to destroy, it will slowly cook, and after a period of seconds, it will vanish from the world. So these are the different recipes you can have. There's 318 different bulk blasting recipes, as you can see, all the standard kind of things of smelting. There's two other really cool, actually there's three other really cool things you can do. There's something called bulk haunting, which we'll use later, and bulk smoking and bulk washing. So these all have different recipes that give you some interesting objects. So in this case with bulk haunting, you want a soul campfire. Bulk smoking, you want a normal campfire, and bulk washing, you just want a water block. So it is it's a pretty cool feature, and I think quite a lot of people actually overlook this as a way of doing bulk smelting. So we no longer need those furnaces over there. Next thing on the agenda is we want to create some alloys. We want this thing here, the mixer, set up for alloying. So using a mechanical mixer, a basin, a basic burner, and some flint and steel, we can start making alloys such as bronze and brass. And both of those are going to be very important, basically right now, in order to keep progressing. Where is the mechanical mixer? So this is what a mechanical mixer looks like, very similar to the press that we used before, cogwheel, andesite casing, but at the bottom is a whisk, which is iron plates and andesite alloy. So we'll make a few of those. I think probably 2 will be enough. Let's get that going. All right, so this is another fun block. Looks like that. Doesn't hook up with the shaft because it just needs to be difficult. We need to use a cog. We're going to need a basin for it to sit underneath it. So we'll actually be creating a whole bunch of these, or needing a whole bunch of these later. So I might actually, since it's just andesite alloy that it requires, I just might make a few. That'll sit there like that. So if you know anything about chemistry, bronze is made from copper and tin. So the way we chuck them in there is just throw them. So as you can see, there's now 32 copper ingots, 56 tin. That's the wrong ratio, but that's how it works. It's not doing anything because it's not hooked up. But also, even if we were to hook this up, it wouldn't do anything because this requires heat, and there's none supplied. So that's where we need the burner. So where are we going to put this? So I had this idea of having the gear shaft come out over here, like that. We want to place the mechanical mixers in, like that. Damn it. Okay, I forgot it's using those cogs. We're going to have to create... I mean, I like that placement of it. We're going to have to create a different way to do that, but we will persevere. So that will work there once this works, which I'm going to have to be clever about, I guess. All right, I guess this is going to work. Let's see if I can do it on the fly. Aha, okay, we have overstressed our system. There's too much. This is 512, that's 512, 512, 512. We are 128 units over capacity. It's not much, but it's enough. This must be using quite a lot, actually. 512 as well. I thought each of these is 512. There must be some loss in the system somewhere. Ah, the encased fan. I forgot about that. So that's the extra bit. So I've managed to redesign that. So not only are we not overstressed, we have actually hooked these up a bit neater. It's not great, but it'll do. So here we have our mixers. So let's make some alloy. So if I put some fuel in that burner there, so some charcoal. That's now on. And if we place the copper and tin in there, it starts mixing. So now we are making bronze. Cool, so the bronze ingots are ready. So if I grab that. So as you can see, the formula for this is SnCu3, which is tin and copper. Now, one thing I like about this mod is that it actually tells you the chemical formula for a lot of these things, and that is actually useful information, because in this case it says that 1 part tin to 3 parts copper is how you make bronze. So for example, with brass, which we'll make now, which is made from zinc and copper. So we've made brass, that is ZnCu3. So it's similar ratio, so 1 part zinc to 3 parts copper. What we want to do now is just make a whole bunch of those 2 alloys, because they will be needed in our quests that we need to complete. Okay, so I've spent a bit of time tidying up my inventory and just doing a few little kind of chores, I guess. One of the things that we need to do pretty soon is create a primitive blast furnace, because we're going to need to create steel. And also something called a, coke oven. Now both of these require a fair bit of clay to construct. So currently the way we make clay is by putting dust in these oak barrels. Now that's a very manual process, and we're going to need a lot of clay, so let's see if we can automate that. So what I'm going to do is make a clay maker. So similar kind of design to this, where there's just stuff at the top, stuff at the bottom, something in between. So in this case, it's going to be the stone barrel. So we're going to need to create at least 1 more stone barrel. How much stone do we have? Not enough. Okay, I am going to have to cook some stone. Oh, okay. I have broken this. It's blowing the wrong way. Okay. That is an embarrassing mistake. How has that happened? That was working before. Oh, by placing this gearbox in there, it has reversed the direction, because these spin in different directions. Right. I can fix that by placing another gearbox in there. That's, yeah, that's unexpected. I didn't think of that. Well, it's actually not too bad, because it will probably put some more machines out this way. So we'll just do that, and now that's blowing in the right direction. All right, cool. All right. I was actually going to cook up some ore, which is what you saw sitting in there, but I guess we'll do the cobblestone first. So in the meantime, I can start creating the other parts that I'm going to need. So need some fluid pipes, 2 chests, and some chutes. I think this should work. So probably just create it here, I guess, so they're not connected. I won't place that yet, because otherwise we'll end up with water spewing out into the world. It's a pipe that's not terminated. So place that there, which means that we need another one there. See how we're going over here with our stone. Nice. Okay, so the barrel's there. Hook this up like that, and that should be getting water. It is. Check that on the top. They'll start feeding into there, and hopefully producing clay. There we go. So that's quite convenient. So we're going to need more dust. I might just smash some gravel now that we have gravel. So let's place dust in there. Is that going to be enough? This is a question. I guess we'll come back to that later. Okay, so the next thing I want to tackle is the sifting process itself. So over here we have our sieves. So we've automated the process of making cobblestone. We've also now automated the process of making gravel. So if we want to get some ores, what we can do is just take the gravel over here and poke it through the sieve. But that's still a manual process. So let's make that happen for us. So what we're going to need to do is use deployer. It's actually like a mechanical hand, and it just pokes downwards based on the rotational input. And so we can actually use that to place the things we want to sift into the sieve, and it will happen automatically. But then if we're going to do that, we're going to need a way to catch what comes out of it, because it pops out into the world. So we're also going to need something called a vacuumulator. So we've got, I think, all of the parts for it, so it's just a matter of constructing it. So what I've done off camera is create this area here, just expand that out. So this is where I'm going to put the new sieve. So pretty simple. All right. All right. So that's where we're going to create the stuff. Let's create the vacuumulator first. So we need some tin, some glass, a hopper, and a servo. Done. All right. Need a bender pearl. Okay, so the hopper recipe in GregTech is a little bit more complicated. So we're going to need to make some iron rods, plates. All right, so we're going to start needing some other tools. So first of all, to make an iron rod, we're going to need a file, and files are made with plates. So I think we might have some visitors. Awesome. You guys can stay there. Okay. Now that we have all of those different tools, what did we actually want to construct? The cog. No. What's it called? In the hopper. Iron gear. Okay, so get one. So it's one of those. And hammer. Okay, getting there. All right, we have the vacuumulator. So this thing will suck in items in the world and drop them into an inventory. All right, let's place down a chest. That's where our stuff's going to end up. Let's place down the hopper, pointing into it. Accumulator goes, whoops, on top. Now, that should suck anything and put it into there. So let's test it out. There you go, cool. All right. That's appearing in there, which is good. All right, now what we need to do is might construct some walls around this just to keep everything in. So I'll use that glass that we had before. All right, what are you doing? You're just being a menace now. Wasn't expecting to have an audience while I'm constructing this. But, you know, here we are. Great, yeah. So now I've got a couple of llamas clearing their throat every few moments. All right. The brass hand is pretty easy. The electron tube is kind of complicated. So I'll come to that in a moment. But let's create the brass hand. So we're going to need some brass plates. Luckily, we have some brass ingots. So put it into our crusher. Is this going to work? Yes. Excellent. So while that's crushing away, I'll explain exactly why the electron tube is complicated. It's because of this thing called polished rose quartz. So it's made from rose quartz, which is pretty easy to make. Got a piece of rose quartz. Now, how do we polish it? So in order to polish it, we need to use sandpaper. I think it's just these two. Yep, sandpaper. Excellent. All right, so this is quite an interesting mechanic. You actually have to put it into your offhand and then polish it like this. We're almost there. So electron tube is that, just that and some iron plates. So electron tube, the brass hand. Now that I've got the brass plates done, like that, brass hand. And it's like casing, brass hand, electron tube. So let's see, can we do that? How do we rotate it? Okay, there we go. Now, is that in the right spot? I think so. I don't think it needs to be any higher. It's got the rotational input on the side, which kind of works. Could run a thing out this way. All right, and I need like a chute or a hopper to feed items into it. Like that. So if if I put something into that by throwing it, it's now in the hand of, well, it's hot. The hand is holding it now. So that's what we need. And so now we need an inventory up there. Okay. It's rotating and poking. So this is basically complete. So if I put some gravel in there to test that out, and as you can see, it's actually placing it in there and processing it for us. So shortly it will spit out. The vacuumulator will catch it and put it into the chest. Look at that. Amazing. So, oops, some scaffolding went in there somehow. So I might just kind of finish that off with some glass. And that's another step that we've automated. So this little glass enclosure should ensure it just sort of stays put, doesn't go. Oh, okay. Our water wheel was almost on fire there. That's interesting. So our floor is mostly wood. Okay, that I'm sure that'll be fine. I'm sure nothing bad will happen at all. Okay, so that's now passively creating ores for us. What I'll probably do is actually extend this and add a few more. So this one will be for gravel. I'll create one for sand, and I'll create one for dust as well. That way, we can reuse this one like currently, but eventually we're going to want this to be automated so that it's shipping gravel over here and then just happens automatically, and then this goes into our storage system somehow. So for the moment, I guess this will do. I am wondering if I actually put that in the wrong place. I was hoping this would be the center line of this area, and I've actually put it right up against it. I actually intended it to be back here. Oh well, I will move that at some other point. Okay, so we have managed to automate another step. So this is looking good. So we still have to make our sand and dust manually, but I guess that'll be next on the agenda to address. So what do we have left? So we haven't managed to tick off any items on this list today, really. It's mostly about sort of improving our automation and quality of life. So let's actually make some progress. Let's make some wrought iron, because wrought iron is made using the campfire. We're going to need a bunch of it to go to the next stage. And I do actually want to move this. I don't want this to be here because this is going to be the storage area. Yeah, I agree. And so we might as well make use of it while it's still here, because we're going to have to reconstruct these. So the way you make raw iron is just by placing iron ingots on the campfire. And that's one entire stack. -1. Where's one's missing? Oh well. Wonder where that went. Oh, doesn't matter. Can I see it in there? No. Okay, cool. So we got some raw iron. So that we can tick off. So let's build the coke oven, because we're going to need that to build the farm later. The coke oven is a multi-block structure. So if you've never used a multi-block before in one of these mod packs, rather than just being one single block like a furnace or any of those other blocks we've built already, we actually need to construct multiple parts, and once all of the parts are in place, it will magically activate and become a working structure. So this mod pack has quite a lot of different multi-blocks, varying kind of complexities and sizes. So later on we get to some pretty epic ones, which is really cool. So they're fun to construct and are a bit more of a challenge. So this coke oven block here is actually just the kind of control unit for it. So that's pretty easy to make once we have coke oven bricks. And the actual coke oven itself thankfully it actually tells you what you need. So we just need 25 coke oven bricks and the coke oven. So that means we need 29 coke oven bricks. Coke oven bricks are 4 coke oven bricks. It's got the same name. Ah, no, it's plural. Okay. So 1 coke oven bricks block is actually 4 coke oven brick. So we make that from compressed coke clay, and that's made from clay and sand. So we should have plenty of clay now. We just need to turn it into clay balls, and we need a brick wooden form. So quick maths, we're going to need 29 blocks times 4. What's that? That's almost 30 times 4, 100, it's a bit less than 120. But we get 3 per block, so if we do that 40 times, that should do us. All right, so that's our goal. So we're going to need 40 times 5 sand, so 200 sand. All right, so let's get going on that. So let's grab some gravel. So 200 sand, I said. 128, that should be 256. Okay, that should be enough. Ah, there's that wrought iron ingot. I knew it was around here somewhere. So I'll just place these in here. So that's my sand. Now I need clay balls. So I have a bunch of clay here. Turns out that you can put clay into this machine and it will turn it into balls. So I have more than I need here. So that's that. And now the last thing I need is the actual form itself. So in order to make these, we need this device here, the brick wooden form. So that's made with an empty wooden form and a knife. We need to saw a plank. Let's make an iron one. And cut the middle out. And I have a brick wooden form. Okay, so grab those, grab that. Ah, stopped raining, finally. Okay, now we have those. What do we do with them? We smelt them. So, in theory, we could just put it up here. So, I'm just going to test it with one to make sure it's actually going to work. And not just destroy it. Done. Cool. Alright, so let's get these others done. Okay, so we have the coke oven bricks. So let's see if we counted right. 31. Perfect. I have created a little platform over here so we can create the coke oven. So let's do that. So first of all, let's start with the coke oven bricks for the base. So the actual multi-block itself, it can be tricky to see what's going on, but you can actually step through each layer to see what each layer consists of. So when you're constructing it, it is a bit easier to build. So we've got 9 at the bottom, and then around the outside, and then 9 on the top. And then the last one, that's it. So if it's actually working, it will register as a coke oven. If it's missing a piece, it apparently still shows up, but it won't work. So what we want to, the reason why we want the coke oven is to create something called creosote. It's also a way of making charcoal, but we have a more efficient way currently. So I might just grab a stack of wood and just demonstrate what's going on here. If I chuck that in there, it should start cooking, but of course, because the block is incomplete, it's not. In other multi-blocks, it will actually, on the display itself, it will tell you that it's an invalid structure, but this one doesn't apparently. So if I place that in there, that is now cooking. So you can see that's going along. It'll create charcoal from it, and then this will fill up with something called creosote, which is a liquid that we can use to make treated planks. So we're back. The coke oven has been processing for a little bit, so it will have created some creosote. So let's grab that and tick off the quest. So this lets us build treated planks. So show how that's done, and then later on we can build more. So we have these treated wood planks. So that consumes the creosote, but not the bucket. So we're going to need a jungle tree first. So let's find a suitable, excuse me. Suitable, yeah, all right. Suitable piece of dirt. Let's put this here. And just let it grow. Okay. So an arboreal extractor allows us to extract latex from jungle trees. So how do we make one of these things? Ah, okay, fairly simple. Done. So what we do with this is we place it up against the bark of the tree and it will start extracting latex. So it doesn't require any fuel or anything like that. I think if you put bone meal in it, it goes faster, but for the moment, I don't think we need to worry about that. And so you can see it's just passively generating latex. Once it reaches the one entire bucket, we can pull it out with a bucket. So for the moment, we'll just let that go. We can craft that, the sulfur dust. Let's do that, just to tick that off. So during the sifting of, dust, you get little pieces of sulfur. So these guys here, tiny pieces of sulfur dust. So we can craft those, oops, no, the whole grid, into sulfur dust. We are going to need to use these in the creation of rubber. So there's a process that's called vulcanization of rubber, and that requires sulfur and a little bit of heat. So we'll use our mixer basins for that. We can tick that one off. So really, it's going to be these fire bricks, and I need lots of them. So let's assume we're going to make two of those machines, 2 primitive blast furnaces. So this is another multi-block. As you can see, it's using a bit of wrought iron now, so that's why we made that stuff. Primitive blast furnace is a bit bigger, so it's 4 blocks tall. Requires 32 bricks, 5 bricks, and the primitive blast furnace. There's one in the middle there, and then 32. So we need 33 5 brick blocks. Actually, we're going to need more if we're going to create 2, but we can actually be kind of clever about it, because these multi-block structures actually can be placed next to each other in such a way that they share a boundary. So what we can do is we can create another one next to it, say over here, and have it share this same wall, so we don't have to repeat these blocks along here. So it's 12 blocks cheaper than double of this. So instead of 64 blocks, we only need, 12 less. So it's 52. And then another 2 for each controller. So that's 54. So times 4, what's that equal to? Just over 200, 216. So what are fire bricks? Compressed fire clay. Compressed fire clay is fire clay dust. So that makes 8. So that's fine. There's 8 fire clay dust goes in, 8 bricks come out. So we still need 216. So what are they made from? Brick dust and clay dust. So we're going to need 108 of each. In the macerator, clay goes into 4 clay dust. If we were to do it by crafting it in the mortar and pestle, we'd need 4 times as many. So I think maybe what we need to do is actually go down the path of building a macerator. That would save us a lot. Then we also need the brick dust. So bricks are just made from clay balls. Same sort of thing. I wonder if I can just macerate that. It does, and it's 4. Okay, so that makes it a lot simpler. So instead of having to have 4 times as much, if we create the macerator, we're cutting our requirements by a factor of 4, which is huge. So we just need 108 clay balls, actually, which we get together pretty easily. that going to make 108? That's exactly 108. All right, it's like it's foretold. Put that in there, put that in there, take those guys. So there's a few different ones you can build. Now, what's interesting is there's actually a steam-based one, because we're not at the stage of being able to create electricity. It's a few episodes away, I think, still. But we can create one made of that is powered by steam, and we have plenty of resources to create a steam boiler and all that. So let's go down that path. It's got diamonds, it's got bronze machine casings. This is all doable. So let's highlight that. We're going to need a low pressure steam solid boiler, yep, because we're going to use charcoal to run it. And we now have a low pressure steam solid boiler. Now this thing needs to be supplied with water, otherwise it's not going to work. So we'll probably build it somewhere close to our existing water infrastructure. I think it is already hooked up and it's filling with water. Excellent. All right, so to generate steam, we just have to add coal to this. So the macerator requires diamonds. Presumably that's what's actually doing the grinding. So let's grab those. All right, let's see if I remember. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think I can use these for the steam itself. It's coming out of these machines. Maybe I'll make a few more. So now we have our low pressure steam macerator. So I think I can do this. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Can I hook this up? Yes, okay. Do that, and I'll put the macerator here. Okay, can't use the back, I just remembered, because that's where it vents the steam when it's in operation. So these are a little bit more complicated to hook up than sort of the standard electrical ones. I guess for the moment, I'll just put it to the side, just like that. We can move it around when we get the other machinery going. Very slowly, this will create steam, and as it gets hotter, it creates more steam more quickly, and that steam is actually being directed into here once it actually creates it. So while we're waiting for that to fill up with steam, I might as well check on the latex production over here, which from the looks of it, it has completed enough to fill a bucket, so I can grab that. We can turn the latex into rubber. Basin, putting some sulfur in with it. So now we have 4 pieces of cured rubber. So this is important later on because we'll make these rubber sheets which are used for wires. So that's pretty important in the LV section of the map. All right, so we're back. I did a little bit of a refactoring here. So I realized that I didn't want to have to hand feed this machine the whole time. I want to put some resources into it and then just walk away and not have to worry about it. So I just moved it up a level and did the same sort of chute trick here that I did before. So this has been producing quite a lot of steam. It's nice and hot, and that's gone through here, that's filled up. So we can now feed this with our clay and our bricks. So that'll start macerating that and just output it into the chest at the bottom. So 4 at a time, that's brilliant. So the interesting thing about this, if you've watched during the cycle, it produces a burst of steam. So that's important. It won't work if that port is blocked. So for example, if I place a wooden block there, as it's going along, and now it's stopped. So it can't continue. So we've got to get rid of that block. The player can actually be damaged by that steam. So yeah, stay away from it, I guess. What we'll do is probably call it at this point. We've done a lot in this episode. That can process away offline, and then in the next episode we'll set about actually building the blast furnace, and then probably the farm, I guess, because we're going to need biodiesel pretty quickly. So yeah, It's been a pleasure, and thanks for watching. Bye.